Did you miss us? We're back with another edition for you and you and you of We're Just Saying with Mark
and Fallon.
Here with another edition. This time, the shirt and hat might be misleading, as we're not reviewing Jurassic Park, the original. No. We're reviewing Jurassic Park Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the 5th entry in the Jurassic Park series. Yep. So, it's a 2018 release. Takes place, of course, after Jurassic World, which came out 3 years ago. Stars pretty much the same two actors, which, outside of Jeff Goldblum, this is the first one with a returning for the sequel of the main cast of Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt. Thank you. But from the original was Jeff Goldblum, which his more or less was a glorified cameo, and I'll go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah.
His scenes were more or less revealed in the trailers, which was kind of disheartening.
It was kind of disappointing because you see him in the trailer and you're hoping for a little bit more, but literally that's all you get.
And then B.D. Wong as the Jurassic Park scientist is back as well. So, but yeah, I'll just go ahead and get right into it. This one takes place a few years later.
3 years later.
Yep. And they're on a mission to try and, what we think is save the dinosaurs, but in actuality it's more of a grander scheme to sell them to the highest bidders, and they could be used for war or for show or whatever, and basically change the concept, which, as we'll reveal by the end of this, changes the game for the Jurassic franchise.
Lockhart, who was partners with John Hammond, he is basically dying, and he hires some younger guy to help spend his fortune, and he thinks that they're gonna try to save these animals off of the island that has a volcano, and it turns out that he has bad intentions, and he's using Lockhart's money to sell the dinosaurs to the highest bidder.
Nice. Yes, as it turns out, which one thing with a couple of these movies, they always reveal a new background to the story involving Hammond. In Lost World, originally they were going to do something in San Francisco with the Lost World theme park. And then now in this one, no, the original thing was they did something in this guy's basement, and which is what led to them separating, which of course, spoiler alert, leads to the granddaughter, aka daughter, cloned. So, but they kind of keep going back to the original and just kind of rehashing what happens beforehand. But it worked for me. I didn't mind it.
No, I didn't mind.
But yeah, so I liked both of them in the first movie, so I was fine with them coming back. Immediately they go back, which, if you notice, and my only thought was, of course, they're going to rescue the dinosaurs off this island, but yet they haven't mentioned what's happened. Especially bringing back Goldblum, there's still a second island out there that had dinosaurs on there.
Yeah, that's true. From the second movie, right? Lost World.
Isla Nublar and Isla whatever, Sorna.
Yeah, so there's dinosaurs
out
there too.
I was kind of curious after watching this a couple times, what about them? The main focus has been the original, which, again, both of these movies keep going and throwing back to the original, which is fine and grand because I love that kind of stuff, but there's still, if it's going to take place in the continuity, what about the second movie / island, which actually, 2 of the sequels took place on that island. So there was still dinosaurs on there, and so yeah.
The big thing in this movie was, shouldn't you just let the dinosaurs die on the island because you were kind of messing with fate when you brought them back to begin with? And spoiler alert, at the end of this movie, they get out and they're in the world with the rest of all the humans. So that
Yes.
will be a problem.
It's going to be a game changer, especially since they loaded some of them, which some of the countries got away before the dinosaurs were let loose. So what's going to, it's supposed to be the last part of this trilogy. So I'm curious how they'll wrap all that up. I'm still hoping that they bring back some of the more of the original actors and more meatier roles. But yeah, we can get to that with the final thoughts, at least for me. As far as the rescue goes, I loved the whole thing. They did really try to make Owen more of a machoer man than in the last one.
No, I think the first one he was way worse with catching the fly and all of that.
He was building a house by himself.
And that's fine, but he wasn't as obnoxious about it this go round. I liked him better in this one. I liked her way better in this one. She was less prissy and running around in heels. That drove me insane in the first one.
This director went about to try and make, if you notice, the very first scene that they show of her,
they show her feet. What she's
then
wearing on her
on
feet.
the island they show her feet. They keep going back to her feet, and I think it's because of the big uproar from the last one, which, fine, she wore heels. But
running from a T-Rex in heels. Girl.
It happens.
It happened. Those things would have been gone so fast. But no, I really liked her a lot better. She was more Safari Claire, and she seemed to care more about the animals, obviously, because she was like heading up.
Yeah, she's part of a dinosaur
saving the dinosaurs type and contacting people in office to try to help save them. Whereas in the first one, she was fine with exploiting the animals and kind of didn't care when that dinosaur got out and was killing other dinosaurs. I mean, so she was a little more human in this one.
Rexy gets thirsty. He loves Coca-Cola. Who doesn't sponsor the video, but if they're interested, please leave a comment.
So as far as the rescue team, the guy who was the computer whiz kid, I did not
loved him.
He was annoying
I like both of
from
them.
the get-go when he got in the plane and was like spraying himself. Anybody want any bug spray? It was.
Have you ever been to an island of dinosaurs and bugs?
It was just them trying to put humor in the movie,
Yes.
and it wasn't funny to me.
It was.
And it was just obnoxious.
I cared about that kid.
I was like, can he please get eaten soon? I'm sorry. I'm gonna take that away from you.
That's Rexy. That's not me.
So
I like the kid, which I like. This is the one of the few where I actually like the main four. I'll say because you had the dinosaur girl veterinarian plus the computer.
I liked her. Liked her a lot.
I like them. I kind of laughed a little, which is why I'm saying he's macho, because they went out of their way to say the darts will knock out a dinosaur. Dinosaur. Mm-hmm. Owen gets shot with one, and within minutes not only wakes up, but then starts moving his leg, and then he's fully up and running.
Yeah, that was kind of
away
out
from the
there.
lava.
But I mean, he was a little bit motivated because there was lava coming towards him. You'd override a tranquilizer too.
All right. But yes, that was just a little nitpick of mine. I loved it. I loved how the T-Rex had more of a show in this one. He saved them when they were on the gyrosphere. And then somehow they managed to capture him and put him on the boat. It seems like there's always a rescue scene. This one, just kind of like the first one, whenever the T-Rex first showed up. And then in the Lost World, when both T-Rexes and they were over the cliff. This one just is kind of like when they all ended up in the water and how are you going to save them. And finally they all get saved and they end up on the beach. And that's when everybody realizes that this wasn't a rescue operation. It was to take them onto the boat.
Yeah.
Which that leads us, so they get onto the boat, which conveniently had a ramp for them to race onto it. And go ahead and let's get it out of the way. Even though even though it was a digital animal from an animal that's lived 65 million years ago, if that death scene of the Brachiosaurus isn't one of the most heart-wrenching in cinemas, you don't have a heart!
It ran to the end of the dock and was just like, no, don't leave
The
me.
music, the scenes,
They were crying. I was crying.
Rexy was crying.
Oh, it was so heartbreaking.
Both times we saw
I
it.
needed therapy after that. It was, oh man.
Which, it turns out the reason that they did that, because of course that was the big talked about thing, was the very first dinosaur you see on the island is that dinosaur, so the last one you see on the island is that dinosaur. But
It was just.
it doesn't make it any easier. Which, of course, and even sadder, that's the end after 25 years of that island of dinosaurs. So, very sad all around. That's that whole storyline. So yeah, that was, I'm sorry, I just thought about it, got up to me. Brachiosaurus!
It was just wrong.
It's okay. Rexy.
And the veterinarian who had never seen a dinosaur before just automatically knew how to do operation on a
She
raptor.
played Sims.
There's no dinosaurs in Sims.
There is
I
in
know.
Jurassic World edition. Anywho.
She did an operation on Blue, who got shot, so she needed to
That
get
was
the
a rough scene,
bullet
too.
out. But she knew what to do, even though she had never ever worked on a dinosaur before.
But it led to one of the cooler scenes in the movie, which they still, again, revealed a lot in the trailer, but they did save some of the funnier stuff, including her riding the T-Rex, which was them getting the blood out of the Rex, out of
Claire
the Rexy
and Owen
for
had to go get blood
Blue.
for a transfusion for Blue, and the dinosaur was tranked, so they got in there with it, and
when that eyeball opened.
somebody made a noise, and then Owen was right by the T-Rex, and she was on top of it, right?
Uh-huh.
Because they were trying to hit a vein to get the blood out, and that eye just opens, and it was like, oh,
That
crap.
scene was intense. Well, okay, so speaking of Rexy, and I completely glossed over this, but the very first scene of this movie had to be one of the most intense scenes for me upon multiple viewings across any movie, I think, which I may retract this later, but
Straight out of the gate, intense.
it was black. It was, of course, took place at night. They're going in to get
They're underwater, and
the thing from
the bone from
whatever they made, the dinosaur they made up last time. She'll get back to you in that one. But the glimpses of the underwater dinosaur,
and then
you see the shadow. and you're like, uh-oh. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, it's dead. And then there's a shadow. And then all of a sudden they're starting to back up. And all of a sudden you just see the mouth.
The mouth.
That was intense part number one. Luckily they didn't show the rest of that. The scene that got it for me was when Rexy showed up and killed the poor guy on land and chased him down onto the helicopter. Everyone, which that whole scene where he's chasing that and the Rex is going after, which we didn't see it in 3D. I'm glad we did.
You see lightning, and then you see the T-Rex in the background.
And that whole scene, I'm just like, ah! And that whole scene was intense all the way up until, of course, when the underwater Megalodontosaurus burger thingy came out of the water and ate that poor man.
He thought he got away.
Rexy had one of the most intense opening scenes in the movie series for me. So I just wanted to get back to that. I applaud the directors for that scene. Started off on a high note. So now we're going to catch back up. They're off the island. And they got to Rexy and they're getting that was another intense scene. Which of course they got the blood, they saved Blue, and now where are they all going? And of course you got Mr. Mercenary, who has been in several movies from Too Fast, Too Furious to, of course, Silence of the Lambs. The voice of that trucker movie with Paul Walker.
Candy cane.
Yeah.
Joyride.
So he of course was the big bad, which of course he has to take a tooth from every expedition, and he ended up paying the price later, which we'll get to in just a minute.
Such a jerk. He tranked Owen to begin with.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to take a tooth.
Ted Levine.
From every dinosaur to put on a necklace or something.
Which hunters apparently do that. But he ends up paying for it in a few minutes, which we'll talk about. But yes, of course they get off. Little one barking at herself, or she's barking at Rexy.
She just found herself in the mirror.
Hey! All right, so back to this. So yes, they're heading to the Lockwood Estate. This is all. So speaking of the clone daughter, this is one of the movies which every Jurassic Park movie has kids in it. This is the second movie out of the series where I didn't mind her.
Yeah, I didn't mind her either.
The Lost World, the third one, and even the
which
last.
We haven't done that review yet, which we will.
Right, Jurassic World. The kids were. I could have done without them, even though they added to the story. But I could have done without them. But this one, I truly enjoyed her. And her story. She
truly added something to the movie.
So, but yeah, so she, she figures it out. Of course, the bad guy kills the old man, and then they start bringing in all these people, start selling off the dinosaurs, and they introduce the big bad, newest fake dinosaur, which this one was scarier for me than the last movie, the Indoraptor. It was more intense for me, this dinosaur, than the fake T-Rex Velociraptor dinosaur in the last one. For me.
That one to me was scarier than this raptor just because of how big it was. But nothing beats that T-Rex. That T-Rex is just terrifying.
I know. Good old Rexy.
Good old Rexy.
So yeah, so they start selling it, and some people will say that the outcome was the result of what Owen and Claire did. Watching it a couple times, I kind of tend to disagree. They tried to rescue themselves, and of course, everything else happened. It's kind of hard for me to say that they were the result of the dinosaurs getting out. They did try to stop it. But anyway, so they introduced the Indoraptor. Mr. Hunter Man gets eaten when he tries to take the tooth, which was the first time you really see the dinosaur interacting with the audience, where at first it smiles at the camera and waves its tail. And then, so that was the kind of the first fourth wall moment. But yeah, so he takes him out, takes out the cellar guy in the elevator, and then goes throughout the house and terrorizes the main cast. Luckily, none of the main cast, I don't think, was affected. No.
And then Blue saves the day.
Good old Blue.
Good old Blue. You're my boy, Blue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the scientist guy gets mad that now it's got T-Rex bloods because of the transfusion, which turns out is the last raptor of its kind.
It needed a mother. Was Blue?
No, it was the motherly figure was supposed to be the Indoraptor.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, no, you're right. Blue was supposed to be the motherly figure for the Indoraptor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in turn, Blue ended up getting that raptor killed.
Right.
Speared.
So their whole plan kind of went out the window, and of course by the end of it, the scientist once again is taken off screen and whisked away to wherever. By the end of the movie, you see all these samplings of blood and eggs disappearing. Where they end up, we don't know. Could there be more raptors like Blue? It's never really said, but they sure went out of their way to say Blue's the last of its kind.
There was a lot more tapes of Owen and Blue when Blue was a baby.
Oh, what a little baby Blue!
So cute.
So adorable. But they grow up and eat people, and that's not good.
However, Blue, the scene where they blew up that room in the house, and Blue was jumped out right there. She was awfully smart to know that there was something flammable and she needed to get out of there because she just jumped out of the room when it exploded.
Blue knows.
Blue knows.
Why you gotta mess with Blue? Blue knows.
Which is like, that's a smart dinosaur.
It is. They went out of the way to establish that. If you grew up in Sylvester Stallone movies like Blue did, you'll understand. Anywho. So yes, Blue is the Rambo of the Jurassic Park series. as evidence when it jumps during that explosion across the screen and blues the shiznit. So, anywho, so the Blue saves the day, kills the Indoraptor, luckily, and all the main cast is alive. And then you get to probably the second hardest scene, which is, do they decide to let the dinosaurs live or die? And the cloned girl, which you couldn't fault her, lets them live because she's a clone just like they are.
Yeah, but she's not gonna go eat people.
You don't know that.
I'm sorry. If
Cannibalism?
that were to actually happen, we should just kiss our butts goodbye, because there's no way.
You don't think that sitting here watching this on YouTube later and you're sitting and you look over the window and see a T-Rex?
That's what I'm saying. Dinosaurs and people could not coexist. There's just no way.
What about little baby Blue?
If they stayed babies, it'd be fine.
What about little Rexy?
Well, you just said.
Rexy is adorable. So yeah, so they end up releasing all the dinosaurs. The bad guy ends up getting eaten by Rexy.
Split in half.
And they kill the DNA from the dinosaur from Jurassic World.
Yeah, the T-Rex steps on it
So
and
that
destroys it.
So in theory, they've said that there are no more fake dinosaurs. They're just going to focus on the ones that we know about. So in theory, that should end the whole fake, made-up dinosaurs that they've been going out of the way, and just focus on the dinosaurs that are in the history books. And then, of course, they get the Jurassic World voiceover from Malcolm, Dr. Malcolm, where you welcome to Jurassic World, and you see all the dinosaurs spread out everywhere, and T-Rex is challenging the lion, which is monumental in itself, since lion is, the king of the animals, and now you got Rexy, and all the dinosaurs are being shipped all over the world, and
you see people surfing, and then you have that big water dinosaur.
That's why I don't go in the ocean. Between Jaws and that thing, and Megalodons, and if you saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, when you see Ant-Man, a big old 64-foot Ant-Man laying in the water, I don't want to be in the ocean to come across something like that. And then, now you got this big old dinosaur thing out in the ocean. How do you know it's not out there? Sorry, I get a little... That's why you'll see me in the pool. So you got that, and then the last shot is, of course, of Blue looking over of suburbia, kind of parallel to what happened in the last one, where the T-Rex is looking over Jurassic World. And then apparently there was an after credit scene with 2 of the flying dinosaurs entering Las Vegas. Which the Eiffel Tower, which is a fake Eiffel Tower, and you got these fake dinosaurs. So there was supposed to be some kind of symbolism there, but either way, we still got another 3 years till we know what happens now that it's Jurassic World and we're done with the islands, and now it's here. Even though, as I keep saying, there was still a second island of dinosaurs. What happened to all of them?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Do you think in 3 years that Owen and Claire will be together? Because it was clear that they broke up after the last movie, and then they came back together for this little mission, and of course by the end of this movie they were...
It definitely looked that way
together.
since it looks like they took custody of the girl.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. Like, they just found her hiding in that big mansion. Lockhart had been killed by the younger guy that was spending his money, and she was just like, oh, I'm scared, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, Claire and Owen just adopted her.
She had nobody else.
I mean, that's fine, but...
So, but
like,
yeah,
okay.
I would think that they're still going to be together. But as far as... It's hard to think of where they're going to go with this one.
Yeah.
Which they're bringing back the original director of the Jurassic World, Colin Trevorrow, for the final one. So there'll be some... At least, so... So, final thoughts on this one. I personally I love this movie. It was a perfect, by all means, but it was a different kind of movie. It definitely had more humor, more action, more suspense for me at times, especially that opening scene. And, I've got a couple complaints, like they should have used Jeff Goldblum more as Ian Malcolm and not revealed most of his, if not all of his scenes or dialogue in the trailers, which Hollywood's getting bad about these days. But yeah, I love that the cast is still together, all the cast, and how they wrap everything up. And my only final thought is I hope they bring back Sam Neill as Alan Grant and hopefully Laura Dern.
That would be good.
And, you know, at least one or if not both of them, bring back the trifecta to interact with this one and wrap up the entire series.
That would really blow it out of the water if they did that.
So yeah, that's my only thing.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly. It was a really good movie.
So excited for the 3 years. I'm excited for the Blu-ray and all that stuff. So, but yeah, still in theaters. Definitely go watch it if you haven't. And then we'll, like we said, we still got a couple more Jurassic movies to review. But in the meantime, as far as this is probably Jurassic Park 1 is probably still my favorite. And then
yeah, it just doesn't get better than the original.
This or Jurassic World will probably be my second or third interswapped. And then so this is definitely high on my list as far as the rankings of the movies.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like for now that's it. We appreciate you checking in to see what we just had to say about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Make sure you like our video if you enjoyed it and subscribe, please.
Show us some love, some
please,
dino
please.
love.
We put out videos as often as we can. We try for every week, but if we can't do it, we're sorry. We're trying. We're trying.
We're trying. So give us some like, show us some love. If not, we're sending Rexy after you. And until next time, this is Mark and Fallon with We're Just Saying. Talk to y'all soon. Stay frosty.
Bye.
Peace!